This is a long-form power yoga practice for your follicular phase. This is a time of rising and expanding energy where we will use this practice to embody the qualities of the air element. So it is movement, it's expansive and elevating, upward moving, out and radiating from the center out in all directions. So we're really working on cultivating heart opening, that space where the air element resides in the space of the heart and the lungs. So there will be a lot of kind of chest expansion, heart opening, and all of that in service of this peak pose in a back bend. So we're moving to a very deep back bend in dancer pose. It's a standing balance, back bend, heart opener, hip opener. It has all of the things. So we'll be kind of laying the foundation very slowly, very smoothly throughout this long form practice. So let there be no rush from the beginning. Know that we are going to build and layer on. So just take the little pieces on as they come, as they're offered. This is a challenging practice, but like I said, it moves very slowly. So I encourage you to kind of check in as we're moving through and notice how your alignment changes. Really pay attention to the key actions and use this practice as an opportunity to study, to explore. Use the mat as your laboratory to get a better awareness of how your spine moves, how your shoulders move, how your hips and shoulders are related. All of these things that we maybe sometimes take for granted, but in the space of practice, we have this invitation to really notice and bring some awareness to these sort of sleepy places in the body. If you are new to yoga or this is one of your first practices, please be gentle with yourself, be patient. So just be in the expression of each pose that feels most natural to you. It need not look a certain way. And with backbending, it should not feel painful. So as you work on these different key actions in backbending, notice if you start to feel any pinching or pain, simply dial it back a little and work on iteration. So we're working kind of opposing key actions to get into the alignment that feels best for your body. So really use this as an intimate space of practice where you are learning the language of your body and you're doing it in service to kind of your feeling your best throughout. All you will need for this practice is a mat and your breath. You might like to have some water too. These backbends can be very heating and very activating. So it's nice to have that hydration throughout if you like it. And let's get started with our practice. Let's begin on your mat in a standing position. Let your feet be about hip-width distance apart and just enjoy a few moments connecting to your breath in and out through the nose. Spread your toes wide. Feel that connection both downward into the earth and upward through the heart, elevating, lifting up through the spine. As you're ready, inhale, reach the arms out and up, gaze toward the fingertips. On your exhale, find a cactus shape, really lift the heart up, broaden across the chest. Inhale, reach back up. And as you exhale, fold. Keep a gentle bend in the knees for these first few rounds. Relax the head and neck. Inhale, lift the spine halfway, stretch from crown to tail. Exhale, fold deeply. Keep the weight in the ball mounds of your feet. Inhale, rise, reach up, look up. Stretch up and exhale, hands come down by your sides. Twice more like that. Half vinyasa. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, find that cactus shape. Really broaden across the chest, but keep the low belly drawing in. Inhale, lift up. And as you exhale, fold. Take up space if you have it. Inhale, lift the spine halfway, ripple up from crown to tail. And as you exhale, fold. Make it sound with your breath. Inhale, reach up, out, and around. And exhale, hands by your sides. Last time like this. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, find a cactus shape. Broaden across the chest. Inhale, re-extend. Keep the spine long as you exhale, fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Find that long spine. And exhale, fold deeply. Inhale, rise up, reach up, look up. And exhale, hands by your sides. Enjoying that first round of gentle movement simply to create the pattern of breath. So breath is boss, it's the guide, and then match your movement to that rhythm. We'll shift now to the top of your mat so that you have some space to move. Moving through a sun salutation C. I'll guide you now. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold deeply. Keep the belly drawing in, hips directly over the ankles. Relax your head and neck at the bottom. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. Find length there. Then as you exhale, step your right foot back into a lunge. Find your nice long lunge here. Let your back knee touch down. Untuck the back toes. Firmly press your back shin into the mat. It's like your anchor. It's your support, your foundation. And as you inhale, then lift from there. Lengthen both sides of the waist evenly. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. From here, take your hands to your low spine, fingers up or fingers down. Hug your elbows into each other. Find that lift up through the heart, that buoyancy. That's the air element, that quality of lightness, of floating. And then any amount, as you're ready, press the hands into the low back to keep that low spine long and lift up through the heart. Maybe lean back. Feel that stretch in the right hip flexor. Really root down through the back shin. Hug your elbows into each other. Coil up through the back of the heart. Maybe bend a little more deeply into your front knee. Feel the separation between the thigh bones. Create that space, that distance. And then slowly from here, let your hands touch down to frame your foot. Draw your hips back so they're over your back knee. Lift your front toes. Runner stretch. Notice in this runner stretch if your hips tend to twist. So we're working today with really leveling the pelvis in this closed hip position. So draw the hip creases evenly back together and make sure that your pelvis is level. So you might even gaze at the hip bones. Notice if your left hip is tilting forward, can you draw it back in alignment with the right? That'll create a deep stretch in the left leg. So you might have to bend the knee a little bit more. Just find that point of balance where you can create that stable pelvis. Last breath here. And as you're ready, inhale, come forward. Let your back knee lift. And as you exhale, step to downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet here. Soften the bend in the elbows. Spread your fingers wide. Press evenly through all 10 finger pads. Rotate the inner upper arm bones forward towards the top of your mat so that you have external rotation in the shoulders. And then let your shoulder blades stretch up towards your hips. Press them onto the back of the heart. Feel that integration in the upper body. And let your head move side to side. Maybe sway your hips. And can you feel the stretch in the sides of the waist, really lengthening the torso? Maybe you lift the hips, lift the heels to get the hips nice and high. So the priority here is extension in the spine. And then if it fits, if it feels good, you start to lower the heels. Gaze forward between your hands. Big inhale breath, bend your knees. With an exhale, step your right foot through between your hands. Find your nice long lunge. Let the back knee come down, untuck the toes. Press through the back shin firmly. Feel that stability in the base. Hug your inner thighs toward the midline, and from that foundation, slowly rise up, arms overhead. Lengthen through both sides of the waist evenly, and on your exhale, bring your hands to your low back. Again, you can have the fingers pointing up, or maybe they point down. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Hug the elbows into each other behind you. Notice if your low ribs tend to flare out as you open the chest. Can you draw the hip bones and the low ribs toward each other and continue expanding? So these two actions we iterate to find that alignment. Bend your right knee a bit deeper. Press your hands into your low back. Lift up through the heart. Maybe lean back into a gentle back bend. We're just exploring, sort of peeling back the layers of the back bend slowly through this practice. Feeling the buoyancy in the heart. Filling the body with breath, that air element. Last big breath here. Maybe bend a little deeper into the right knee. Feel that space between the thigh bones. And as you're ready, hands touch down to frame your front foot. Feel the wave of your hips roll back over your back knee. Lift the front toes.
Gaze down at your hip points. Can you level the hips? Can you feel that alignment in space? Maybe the right hip needs to drop down a touch. It tends to pop up with the tightness in the back of the right leg. So we feel that alignment, that level quality in the hips and the pelvis. Stretch your heart forward. Draw your right toes back. Feel the stretch in the back of the right leg. With your next breath, inhale, come forward, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. And as you exhale, step your left foot to meet your right forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. And exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, reach up, stretch up. Maybe the hands touch, gentle back bend, any amount. And as you exhale, hands come down through the heart, arms by your sides. So that was our first round of Sun Si. We'll complete our salutation once again on the left side. Inhale, reach up, adding a bit more depth this time. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, lift the spine. Feel the ripples all the way out to the crown of the head. Then as you exhale, keep your hands as they are. Step your left foot back. Find your lunge. Deep bend in the right knee. Hug the inner thighs to the midline. So you feel that buoyancy in the pelvis. And then slowly rise up. High lunge. Find your stability here. Can you draw the front hip or the back hip forward, the front hip crease back so you feel that level quality in the hips. And then energize the legs by drawing them to the midline. From here, hook your thumbs overhead. Notice if your elbows flare out. Can you really stretch and lengthen them up? Maybe take the arms behind your ears. And then again, observe the low belly, low ribs. As you expand through the chest, if you feel that flaring in the low ribs, draw the low ribs and hip points together. You'll feel the charge, the activation in the legs to keep you buoyant and light. So drawing the thumbs, pulling the thumbs apart to create that space in the chest, and then maybe stretch the arms up and back any amount. It can be a little or a lot. Keep your back toes firmly pressing into the mat, the back heel stretching towards the back of your mat. Last big breath here. And exhale, slowly let the hands touch down. Step your back foot in about a foot. Can keep as much of a bend in the front knee as you need, and then slowly start to work in the direction of straight. So both legs are straight. We have this nice short stance in pyramid pose. Stretch the crown of the head forward, lengthen your spine. Press the inner edges of the feet down into the mat to rotate the inner thighs back in space. And then spread the toes. Feel all four corners of both feet root down. As you're ready, you can slowly fold over that front leg. As you do this, gaze up at your hip points. Notice how they are arranged in space. Can you level the hips? For me, that means lifting the right hip crease, dropping the left hip so that they're level and even. Feel the stretch in the back of your right leg. Last big breath here. As you inhale, halfway lift your spine, and exhale, step back to downward dog. Our second entry here, just feel what has changed, maybe more space now in the spine or the backs of the legs. One more big breath in, and a slow breath out. Gaze forward between your hands, bend your knees. On your exhale, step your left foot through between your hands. Nice wide lunge here. Feel your base. Activate your legs by hugging them to the midline. Feel the 4 movements of lunge so that front shin moves forward as the right heel stretches back. That front hip crease drops down as your right thigh floats up. It's buoyant. Coil through the belly. Stay stable as you reach up. High lunge. Find that strong lunge first with the torso upright, shoulders directly over the hips. And then take the opposite clasp in your thumbs, the one that feels maybe a bit strange, it's not as natural. And the same thing we did on the first side, stretch the thumbs apart. You'll feel a broadening around the shoulder blades, creating so much space for the lungs to expand. So breathe deeply here, inhale, and exhale. As you inhale, stretch the fingertips up, maybe lean back any amount. Really hug the inner thighs to the midline to keep the hips square and even. Last big breath. And as you exhale, hands touch down. Stay here for an inhale. There's no rush. And with your next exhale, step your back foot forward into a forward bend. Inhale, lift the spine halfway. And exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up, stretch through the fingertips, maybe a gentle back bend. And as you exhale, hands come down through the heart. Relax your arms by your sides. Enjoying a breath here in transition. So this sun salutation C, really just warming the spine, the legs, the arms. Now we'll begin our core cultivation. As you're ready, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold. Notice if you have a bit more space in the back of the legs now. Inhale, lift the spine halfway. And as you exhale, ball pose. So lift the heels lower into a ball pose squat. Feel that stretch in the soles of the feet and slowly lower to a seat. And in your own way, all the way down to the back. Nice and slow. Feel the connection to the earth underneath you. So here, we're continuing to build energy to create that activation inside. Take your hands behind your head. Cradle your head in your interlaced fingers. Bring the knees to a 90-degree bend. So notice if your tendency is to bring the knees very close, that kind of allows your belly to check out. Instead, can you hold that position, that boundary at the 90-degree angle? Flex your feet here. Enjoy a breath. As you exhale, close the low ribs and hip points. Feel that activation, that engagement in the low belly. And then we'll slowly lift up. Here we're going to do very slow bicycles. So I really want you to feel the engagement in the core. As you exhale, take your right elbow to left knee. Really lift. Extend your right leg long. Come through center. Inhale. Exhale. Left elbow to right knee. Really lift the shoulder blades, both shoulder blades off the mat. Come back through center. Find that 90-degree bend and exhale, exchange. So we master the slowness first so that we create that blueprint of the movement where we're not checking out, not just going through the motions, but instead there's a deep quality of activation in the low belly. You might start to feel some heat. So we're lifting the shoulder blades all the way up with every exhale. And then you can start to pick up the pace just a little bit. Still coming through center, finding that boundary, and then slowly taking out that pause in the middle. So both sides, we go alternate, twist, twist, and twist. Again, try not to let the knees come too close. Keep them at that 90-degree bend. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let the head come down. Rest for a moment. You can bring your feet to the mat if that feels most supportive in your low spine. And now we'll take the legs straight up and down. So we'll enjoy that same pattern, but now with straight limbs. So you can begin with your hands behind your head once again. Flare the toes, so feel that from the toes, that activation in the feet then translates to activation in the legs. Big breath in. Slow breath out. As we begin, inhale. And exhale, take straight legs now. So you have a straight leg coming down, a straight leg staying elevated. And if you like, you can add that straight arm reaching to the opposite side to give you a bit more length, a bit more stretch. And come through center. Breathe. Let out heat on the exhale. Keep your legs active. So really stretching them straight and strong. You should start to feel all the way around in the belly working when we make that conscious engagement. We slowly build the layers of strength. So it's not just on the surface, it's originating deep in the low belly. Last one here. And pick up the pace. So we switch and switch and switch. Use your breath. Keep the legs strong so we're not using momentum, but instead controlling the descent and the lift. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come down nice and slow. You can let your knees knock in, feet wide apart. Enjoy a breath or two here. We'll have one last round of core engagement on the back here. As you're ready, once again, letting the legs come straight up. Letting your arms rest down by your sides. Press firmly into all 10 finger pads so you feel that stable connection of the torso to the mat. Then begin to hug your knees into your chest. And then extend your legs out long, just hovering above the mat. They come straight up, hug the knees in, and extend out. So we're creating this nice big arc through the sky with the toes. We're focusing now on the lower body movement, letting the upper body be our anchor, circling it in, out, and around. As you do this, can you hug the legs into the midline? Create some activation to the center. That will change the sensation. It will activate deep in the low belly. The next time that your knees are hugging in, reverse the direction. So take the legs up, down, and in. Up, down, and in. Once again, hugging the legs into each other. Create that force. Finding these wide circles here. Try not to let the low spine pop up. Last 3. 2. And 1. Let the knees touch, or the feet touch down, knees knock into each other. You can bring your hands to your low belly, feel kind of the residual contraction there. So we have that support in the belly now. And then as you're ready, extend the legs long, reach your arms overhead. If you need assistance, you can always press the hands by your sides, but we're coming up to a seat with the legs straight. So here I want you to really press through the heels. Try not to let your heels lift as you slowly curl up to a seat. Keep that anchor of the heels and rise up. Once you're in your seated position, let your hands come down behind you. Walk the feet in so that they're a little bit away from your hips, so you have some space between the heels and the hips. Fingertips facing your heels. Once again, hug the elbows into each other. Feel the lift up through the chest. Draw the low belly, the hips and low ribs together. And then slowly come into upward table. Just feeling the stretch across the chest here. A bit of activation in the glutes. Take a big breath in. Keep the hips elevated as you exhale. Hug your right knee into chest. Lower it down and exhale, left knee. Inhale. As you exhale, come in. Can you keep the hips level? So notice they'll want to tilt to make this action happen. Keep alternating, but can you focus on keeping the hips steady, keeping them level? Keep pressing down through the hands so that the chest remains expansive. Feel that stretch the entire time. One more time each side. Knee to chest. And down, last one. And down. Slowly lower the hips to the mat. And then we're transitioning now back up to standing. So there's lots of different ways you can do that. You might roll back and get some momentum to stand up. You might work on that lower belly hip flexor strength by reaching forward and then rising to stand. However you choose to get there, find your standing position in your own time as you're ready. So before we transition into our next wave of flow, we'll enjoy a standing balance posture here. So we're coming into eagle pose. Bring your big toes to touch. Feel some energy to the midline right away. So we're hugging legs into the center. Reach your arms out to T. And we'll start with the right leg. So I'll be mirroring you in movement. Hug your right knee into chest. Cross the right leg over left. Sit deep into your chair without letting the chest come forward. So stay upright in that chair. You can kickstand the right toes to the mat if you like, or you can wrap them around the left calf. Notice what happens to your hips. Do they twist? Can you square them to the front and keep that bind? So it requires a lot of strength, a lot of stability and balance. Once you find stability in the legs, then we'll add the arms. Right arm under, left arm over for eagle arms. Again, here, lots of ways to modify. If this is too much, you can take opposite shoulders. You can also bring the backs of the hands together or wrap all the way through the wrists and palms. Can you mirror the actions in the legs with the arms? So the arms squeezing to the midline. Find your balance. If you fall out, come back in. So the arms squeezing to center to create that stability, and then lengthen your torso. So can you lift the shoulders back over the hips? Sink the hip creases down a bit further. Stretch the back of your left ankle, left calf. Feel the strength in the legs. And then slowly unravel, come back through center. Shake out the legs. So you should feel the difference from left to right. Feel the activation in your standing supporting leg. Coming into the second side as you're ready, the big toes touch. Arms reach out to T, so find that kind of balance point. Hug your left knee in. So each point throughout, as we're setting up the pose, you find your balance. So get stable here. And then we cross, maybe kickstand the foot. Get stable here, square the hips, find your alignment. And then we continue to add on so that we're creating an integrated experience. We're not skipping steps. We're staying in that experience the whole way through. Once you find the hips square, you've got the legs in position, then take the left arm under. Wrap it around for eagle arms. Full Garuda here, eagle pose. Press the palms into each other. Again, if you fall out, for whatever reason, balance a bit of a struggle today. If you fall out, just come right back in. That's part of our follicular phase energy. It's playful. It's brave, it's courageous, it's expansive and open. So find that here, especially if you're in the midst of a physical challenge. If you fall out of balance, just coming right back in. Last big breath here. Sink the hip creases down, shoulders over the hips. Find that straight spine. And then slowly release. Shake it out. Coming back to the top of your mat now. Using that standing balance as transition to just kind of seal that core activation, the leg activation, so that as we move into our working wave now, we have those key actions in the body already. With an inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, keep the belly coiling in as you fold, long spine. Inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, step back to plank. So our first vinyasa of this practice, shoulders over the wrists. Feel that strong plank, so low ribs and hip points together. Stretch your heart and head out forward. Keep the elbows hugging into the midline. Bend them straight back as you lower the body as a unit all the way to the earth. Anchor the hip points and lower body into the mat. Inhale, cobra. So a gentle press with the hands. The hips stay grounded in cobra. Lots of space between the shoulders and the ears. Activate the legs, stretch back through the toes. Lower down, exhale. Tuck the toes, lift the knees. Inhale, plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Enjoy a breath or two here. As you're ready, step the feet together. Feel the stretch in the backs of the legs. And with your next inhale, lift your right leg up and back. Square the hips. So notice the tendency as the leg lifts for that hip to pop open. Keep it square, even if it means your leg comes very low, close to the ground. Gaze forward between your hands. As you're ready, begin to bend your left knee to the mat And send your right leg back. So coming into sunbird, keep stretching the right leg back behind you. Take a big inhale breath. As you exhale, lower into a half push-up, shoulders level with the elbows. Big inhale here. Exhale, core plank, hug your right knee into chest. Inhale, sunbird, bend the elbows, lower. Exhale, core plank, knee to chest. We'll have a few more rounds. Lower down. This time as you exhale, hug the knee in. Maybe lift your left knee off the mat. Twice more. Inhale, sunbird, lower down. Exhale, core plank. Back knee can stay lifted or grounded. Last one. Lower down, bend the elbows. And exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, re-extend, let that knee come down. Find your sunbird shape. So separation between the thigh bones, lengthening through that back leg. So we're really creating strength in this position, the split leg position. With your next breath, lift the left knee off the mat, stretch your right leg up and back. On the exhale, hug the right knee into chest, step the right foot through between your hands. Stabilize in your lunge first, and then begin to lower the back heel down, preparing for warrior one in the legs. So back toes about 45 degrees. You can have the inner edges of the feet aligned or a little bit wider. As you're ready, slowly rise in warrior one. Reach the arms overhead. Take a big breath in. Slow breath out. Bend deeply into that front knee. Feel the stretch across the back of the left leg. From here, turn your right thumb down and begin to wrap that right arm around to your left hip. As you reach up through the left arm, so now we have this split arm position, can you draw the left hip forward and at the same time drag the back of the right hand back behind you. So you're creating these equal and opposite actions to square the hips and the shoulders at the same time. So we're really dragging the back of the right hand across that left hip and then sort of resisting that sensation by moving the left hip forward in space. You might keep the arms as they are, or begin to bend the top elbow. Bring the palm of your hand to the back of your heart. If it's available, you can crawl the right fingertips up to meet the left. Don't sweat it if they don't connect on this day, in this moment. Just be moving in that direction. Hug the elbows to the midline. Wrap the shoulders around forward so they're square to the front of the mat. Whether you have the bind or not, begin to step the back foot in just a touch. Straighten the right leg. Square the hips, square the shoulders. Big breath in. Coil through the belly. Send the hip creases back. Reach the crown of the head forward. Fold halfway. Release your left hand down to the mat, to the inside of your right foot. And then begin to turn your heart towards the right. Notice if your hips come along for the ride. Can you square them to the mat, to the front of the mat? And then release that top arm, stretch it skyward, revolve triangle pose. So setting up this pose here, notice where the hips are. Can you gaze down at your hip points and square the pelvis in space? You might lose a bit of the upper body twist, but you can keep iterating. So level the pelvis, rotate open. Level the pelvis, rotate open. So you keep working the two ends, the two key actions, even though they feel somewhat in opposition. Keep iterating until you find your alignment. Maybe gaze toward your right fingertips. Big breath in. Slow breath out. As you're ready, let the right hand come down. Shift the weight into your right foot. Let the left foot grow light. Slowly lift the left leg up. We're moving towards standing splits, but notice if your tendency is to let that left hip open to get the leg really high. Today, instead, can you focus on leveling the hips, squaring the hips, letting the hip creases be at the same elevation, even if it means your back leg is nice and low. Keep it there. Hug the inner thighs together and then slowly keep iterating. So we squeeze to the midline, level the hips, lift the leg. Squeeze and level the pelvis, lift the leg. You find a great deal of activation there. It's a different sensation. Shift the weight into the ball mound of your right foot so the hip is directly over the ankle. Last big breath. Relax the head and neck. And slowly touch the left toes down. Let the back knee come down. And here you can untuck the back toes. And I want you to shift forward onto the top of your back thigh. So we're working into kind of a split leg position here. Really extend the back leg long so that you can come up to the meaty part of your back thigh. So we're not resting just on the knee, but you have some of that cushion in the top of the thigh. Keep the front shin vertical, and you create that separation between the thigh bones. Drop the left hip down. Keep the top of that thigh moving towards the earth. We'll slowly rise up. Inhale. Now we're moving into a bit of a challenging clasp, a bit of a challenging bind. So as you're ready, reach your arms back around. I want you to keep the thumbs up as a start so that you have this broadening across the chest. Shift the weight forward into the right foot. Come onto the top of the back thigh, bend that knee. You might reach for the foot. You might find maybe one hand only, and now you can start to turn the thumbs in the opposite direction. If you find the clasp with both hands, keep it there, and then we iterate. So broaden across the chest, draw low ribs and hip points together, and then bend deeply into the front knee. Come onto the top of the back thigh. You might notice your chest dipping forward, so you iterate. Hug the heel into sitting bone, lift up through the chest. Lower a bit deeper, lift the shoulders over the hips. Deep stretch in the front line of the left side. Last big breath here, maybe expand a little bit, press your foot into your hands, and then slowly release. Let the hands touch down, maybe sway the hips forward and back. That's a lot of work in that front leg. So giving it a bit of counter pose here, maybe circling that hip a little bit. As you're ready, take your right knee back behind you, coming into table and then puppy. So the hands reach out in front, soften the heart towards the earth. Retract the shoulder blades, so draw the shoulder blades toward the hips. And then we'll slowly come back up onto the shins, entering a supported camel pose. So the hips are directly over the knees, shins are parallel. We'll broaden across the chest. So I like to offer the palms forward, turn the thumbs out, and feel that rotation, that external rotation in the shoulders. Once you have that, draw low ribs and hip points together. From here, take your hands to your low spine. And the key action here is lengthening the low spine. So imagine you're taking your hands and dragging your sacrum toward the inner knees or the inner heels. So really lengthening it down. Hug your elbows into each other, and then slowly crawl up the spine. Press your thighs forward. Let your glutes fill into your hands. So the glutes are active here. So often we try to relax the glutes in back bends, but so long as you can keep length in the low back, you can leverage the strength in your glutes to help the back bend. Lift up through the heart. Maybe let your head drop back. Slowly coming out the way you came in. Rest your hips on your heels for a moment. If that's too much in the knees, you can always rest in tabletop just for a few breaths, resisting the urge to come right into the forward bend, but instead letting the sensation dissolve from the low spine. Shake it out side to side here. And then to neutralize that deep back bend, take your left hand to your right knee, just a gentle twist. So not your deepest twist here, just creating a bit of engagement in the low belly, twisting to let the spine come back to neutral. And switching sides, right hand to left knee, twist. Coming back through center now, you might close your eyes just for a moment, releasing expectation for the second side. Now that you know what is coming, now that you know what shapes will be moving through. And then as you're ready, unfold back into downward facing dog. Step your feet together. As you're ready, inhale, stretch your left leg up and back. Again, observe the hips. So can you drop the back hip so that the pelvis is level? And then keep that left leg stretching back. Inhale, gaze between your thumbs. Lower the right knee to the mat. Find sunbird. So stretching the left leg back. The hips stay square. The belly is strong. Big inhale breath. We'll slowly move through our flow here, and then we'll start to map it onto the breath. So as you exhale, come down into that half push-up. Inhale here. Exhale, core plank. Hug that left knee into chest around the spine. Inhale, open. Exhale, push up. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, core plank. Now adding on as you come forward, inhale, lower. And then as you exhale, core plank, maybe the right knee lifts. Inhale, extend, lower. Exhale, core plank. Maybe that right knee floats up. Last two. Inhale, lower. Exhale, core plank, belly strong. Last one. Inhale. Feel the strength and buoyancy in the chest. Exhale, core plank. Inhale, come back through sunbird. Enjoy a breath. And as you're ready, lifting the right knee, sending the left leg up and back. On the exhale, step your left foot through between your hands. Back heel turns flat. So we're coming into warrior one now on the left side. Notice if the hips want to pop open, it's going to be very hard to get them square with the back heel flat, but we're working in that direction. So we're working on mobilizing the hips with the back heel flat. Slowly rise up, find your warrior one. Square the shoulders to the front. So this beautiful rotation available in the spine where you can move the shoulders independent of the hips. So a lot of times they'll kind of try to match the hips, but can you square them to the front? Reach the arms up. As you exhale, turn the left thumb down, wrap it around so the back of the hand connects with your right hip. As you draw your right hip draw your right hip forward, drag the left hand back. So we're working to square the hips to the front and then square the shoulders to the front. So those equal and opposite actions create this beautiful stretch that happens while we're working. So we're activating the muscles as they stretch. Big breath in. As you're ready, bring the right palm to the back of the heart. Maybe crawl the left fingertips up to join them. And again, not worrying too much about whether or not they connect. We're just moving in that direction. With your next breath, step your back foot in just a touch. Square the hips, straighten the left leg. Lift up through the chest. Big breath in. Keep the spine long as you fold halfway. So reach the left hip crease back in space. Lengthen the crown of the head forward. Let your right hand touch down. Spin your heart to the left. Feel the twist first. Maybe extend the left arm high. So again, gaze down at your hips. Square the hips in space. So this generally means one hip is going to be dipping down depending on which leg is a bit tight, the back of the leg a bit tight. So can you square the hips, create that space across the bowl of the pelvis? As you then maintain that stable foundation, can you twist a bit deeper? Squeeze the inner thighs to the midline, level the hips, and rotate. So those two key actions, we're iterating to find that alignment that feels right in your body. Lengthen both sides of the waist evenly. Big breath in. And exhale, left hand comes down. Bend gently into that left knee. Let the right foot become light. Standing splits as you're ready. Right leg lifts up skyward. And here, draw the left hip crease back, right hip forward. Shift the weight into the ball mound of your left foot so you have that stable stretch in the back leg, but we're not pulling on the insertion point at the hamstring. Rotate the back toes so they're pointing straight down, inner thighs drawing to the midline. Squeeze to the center, lift the back leg. Rotate it down, square the hips, level the pelvis, and lift that leg a bit higher. It takes a lot more effort when we do it in this way, when we set it up from an integrated place. So squeeze, square the hips, lift the leg. Last big breath. And slowly lower those right toes down. Let the right knee come down. Untuck the back toes. Working into the split leg position now. So left shin moves forward. Stretch the thigh bones apart in space. Lengthen the back leg. Keep it long and strong. Come onto the top of the right thigh. Then we'll slowly come up. Circle the arms back behind you. Keep the thumbs up to start so that you have that broadening across the chest. Deepen a bit more into the left knee. Come onto the top of the back thigh. Bend the right knee. And then you can turn your thumbs down. Maybe reach for the ankle or the top of the foot. Find your clasp and then square the hips, square the shoulders. So again here, it's an iterative process. Can you hug the heel to sitting bone? That might tilt your torso forward. Keep that and then reach the torso up. Keep that, bend a bit deeper into the left knee. Notice if your heel popped off your sitting bone. Can you draw it back? Lift the shoulders, bend the knee. So just create that iterative process until you find the place that is both challenging and sustainable. Last big breath. And slowly, one hand at a time, release. Here, finding that counter pose for the left leg, maybe circling the hip. Just let your body kind of tell you what it needs. A lot of work in that front left leg. Last breath here. And as you're ready, send that left knee back behind you. Come into puppy pose once again. Walk your hands forward, soften heart, belly, chest to the earth. Maybe bring your chin to the mat. And then from here, one more round of camel pose. So coming up onto the shins. And this time you might reach for your heels. So if you're still feeling a bit tight in the back, you can tuck the toes so that elevates your heels just a bit more. You can also take the supported version, keeping your hands on your low spine. So we'll start there with the hands drawing the sacrum down towards the inner knees. Lift up through the heart. Slowly begin to press the thighs forward. Lengthen the low spine. Use your hands to draw the sacrum down. And then maybe bring your hands to your inner heels. Bring the palms so they're facing out. Turn the thumbs out behind you to broaden the chest. Send your thighs forward. Try to keep your hips over the thighs. Really lengthening the torso. Maybe let your head drop back. You should still be able to breathe freely here. And slowly coming out. Resting here for a few breaths. Again, if this is too much flexion in the knees, you can always come to tabletop. And as we move into our twist, you can explore the twist from tabletop as well. So releasing the back bend here, kind of counter pose, will work into a twist. So you can simply rotate if you're in table, just rotate to the right, kind of a side bend with a rotation. If your heel's down, you can take your left hand to your right knee and rotate this way. You can also do this from the shins, simply creating that rotation in the upper body. Coming back through center, right hand now to the left side, twist. You can also be up on your shins here. And lower down. Come back through center. And we'll walk the hands out. We're transitioning to a stand now. But before we do, just enjoy a nice round cat pose in the spine. Making sure that we've released the last back bend before we enter our final standing balance posture. Step your feet to your hands. And slowly, bone by bone, come all the way up. So we'll be moving through dancer pose now. We've been working the separation in the thigh bones, the broadening across the chest. We have all the key actions to create this really beautiful, expressive pose, this kind of embodiment of the air element, the heart opening. So I'll be mirroring you in movement once again. You can bring your big toes to touch. Start to hug your right knee into your chest. And then let the right knee come beside the left. Create that energy, squeezing the inner thighs to the midline. Offer your palms forward. You'll take the right thumb back behind you and keep the thumb up for this one. Find the inner edge of your back foot. So we're reaching, I'll demonstrate from the side here, reaching the thumb so that it's on the same side as the big toe, pointing in the same direction. You can start to send your left arm straight out in front of you. And then without letting the hips pop open, begin to send your right thigh back and up. Keep hugging to the midline, squaring hips, squaring shoulders. So we iterate. We lift up a little, we squeeze, we align. Lift up, and then align. Notice where the shoulders are in space, where the hips are in space, and keep extending up and back. Maybe you send that left arm straight up. Try to bring the shoulders directly over the hips. Hug the inner knees to the midline. Dancer pose. Natarajasana. King dancer, queen dancer in our case. Big breath in. And slowly release. Shake it out. So with those key actions, as you set up the alignment, you might not find that you can reach your fullest expression. So perhaps with the integration, you're a bit limited in the range, but you're doing it in a way that's really creating that integrated foundation from which you can build, you can grow, and you can create a more stable shape. Let's release that back bend. Bring your hands to your knees. Standing cat-cow as you inhale. Shine the sitting bones back. Send the gaze up. Exhale, curl the tail under. Round the spine, chin to chest. Twice more. Inhale. Standing cow pose. Stretch the spine. And exhale, round. Last one, big breath. And exhale, round. Slowly coming up. We'll come into the second side now. So dancer pose on the second side. And again, just enjoying a breath in this transition to release the expectation. So what you experienced on the first side is its own experience. And now we're preparing for the second side. So I'll demonstrate from the side once again. Start to shift the weight into your opposite foot. So we're hugging the left knee into the chest. So left knee hugs in. Take your arms out in front of you. Turn the left thumb back behind you. And then bring the knees so that they're joined together. Create that sensation, that energy to the midline. Take your left hand to the inside of your left foot so that thumb and big toe are pointing the same direction. Before you even start to enter the back bend, square the hips, square the shoulders. Notice if your foot wants to pop out, can you hug it back in so you have those square hips, that integrated alignment. Keep the right palm offering forward. You might reach it straight out as kind of a counterbalance. And then as you're ready, send the center of your left thigh straight back and up. As best as you can, keep the shoulders over the hips. And again, we iterate. So squeeze the thighs to the midline. Lift the back thigh up. Maybe tilt the torso forward to get some elevation and separation in the thigh bones. And then squeeze to the midline. Bring your shoulders back over your hips. Maybe reach that right arm straight overhead and expand. So press your foot into your hand. Draw your hand into your foot. Can you create action and growth radiating out in all directions? Find your fullest expression of dancer here. Last big breath. And slowly release. Avoid that slingshot. Come out nice and slow. We'll release the back bend here again with several rounds of cat and cow. So as you inhale, soften the spine, shine the sitting bones back, gaze up. And exhale, round the spine, curl the tail, chin to chest, press through the back of the heart. Inhale, open, extend, lengthen the spine. And exhale. Last one, big breath in. And slow breath out. From here, nice and slowly with a deep bend in the knees, release your hands to the mat. We'll lower into tabletop. So we'll enjoy a twist here. Once again, just to release any residual sensation from the deep backbending practice. As you're ready, inhale, twist your right arm open, and exhale, thread it underneath. Bring right ear to the mat. Hips stay level, reaching up and back. We'll come back up through tabletop. Exchange sides. Left arm reaches open. And exhale, take it under. Left ear to the mat. Spider your right fingertips to rotate open. And back up through center. From tabletop now, lowering all the way to the belly. Bring your forearms to the mat. Just notice the sensation. So this is one of the most gentle back bends available. So how does it feel after this practice? You might have still some sensation in the low back. And to counter that expansion, the spinal extension, we'll enjoy a few Sphinx rolls here. Just keep your knees planted as you exhale, coil through the belly, lift up, really activate the front side. Lower down, extend, lengthen, inhale. And as you exhale, curl up, coil up, create strength. Last one like this, inhale. And exhale. From here, lower your hips down to the earth. Bring your arms to T, take your right ear to the mat. As you do this, bring your right knee out to the side so that it's about 90 degrees. Feel some space across the hips here. Really pressing the inner right hip down towards the mat. And this downward facing twist, just a counter to the activating energy of our practice. Continue to breathe deeply. Feel the strength of the air element as your lungs inflate against gravity. Keep your leg as it is. Spider your fingers underneath you. Elbows come up high. And then begin to curl the spine up any amount. So you might come a little up. You might come a lot. This can be a very deep stretch for the psoas, which means you might feel it in the low back where the psoas connects to the spine. Come down once again, arms reach out to T. And from here, keep the lower body as it is. Just let it move as you rotate. So you can take your arms now underneath you and reach the left arm overhead. So stretch it towards the top of your mat. And then slowly just let your upper body rotate. So the legs will somewhat come along for the ride, but as you rotate open, the shoulders open to the sky, you'll be in your supported spinal twist. So just letting that top leg be very heavy, letting it do the work for you. And as you do that, can you release the low belly, low back? Can you sort of let go of any contraction, any holding, and just give it over to gravity? Last big breath here. Inhale so much that the belly inflates. And then slowly coming out. We'll switch sides, so both legs long. Arms come to T. Bring your left ear to the mat this time as the left knee opens to the side. Enjoying this downward facing twist for a few breaths here.
Really anchoring the inner left hip to the floor. Noticing the quality of your breath. That expansive force of the air element in and out. It's like it comes in, it excavates all this new space, and then we get to inhabit that space. We get to fill that space. And as you're ready, spidering the fingers, slowly pressing up. It can be a little or a lot. Keep the right leg strong, stretching it back behind you. Noticing where you feel this sensation. And then slowly release down. Extend your right arm overhead. And begin to rotate open. So we open the left arm out to the side. Let the shoulders relax down. So the shoulders stay planted. That left leg now crossing the body in a supported spinal twist. So again, let the weight of your top leg do the work. Release the back, release the belly. Find relaxation there. Let it radiate in all directions. And from here, just let the hips open all the way up so that you're on your back. Hug your knees into your chest. Curl up into a little ball. Feel that counter pose to the back bends now. And slowly release. Let your knees touch in. Bring your feet to the wide edges of your mat. Maybe windshield wiper a time or two. And then find your most comfortable resting position. So after backbending, you might enjoy this internal rotation, these knees together with the feet wide apart. You might enjoy external rotation with the feet together, knees apart. Wherever you are, bring your hands onto your body. Let them land wherever it feels most natural. Begin to close the eyes. Really allowing yourself these last few moments of our practice together to take in the experience. How do you feel? Where do you feel? What do you feel? Can you sense the expansion in the torso from that deep practice of breath and openness? Do you feel the energy of activation, almost a tingling on the surface of your skin? Do you feel your heartbeat? And maybe there's no label needed. Maybe there's no sensation to be named. It can just be felt. It can be in the experience fully. And we'll be here about a minute more, just enjoying this resting posture. With your next breath, welcome your awareness back into the space. You might move your jaw side to side, awaken the muscles of your face. Wiggle fingers and toes. Let your knees and hips sway from side to side. Roll onto one side in your own way, your own time. Just being gentle each step of the way. And then making your journey back up to a comfortable seat. Notice the quality of your spine, how it feels after this expansive practice. So really just embodying the qualities of the air element, that lightness, that floating, the activation and movement that comes with that element. In the place where it resides here in your heart, bring your hands to your heart. Offer yourself a moment of gratitude for showing up, for using this movement medicine however you needed. And I too want to thank you so much for being here with me today and for letting your body be moved.